Right. Welcome to the webinar today. Hey, Dr. Dorn, um, Miles, Michael, Saul, Derek. Now, this is a webinar. We're going to be pretty interactive as we go through it. So first of all, Michael, thank you for turning your camera on. You read my mind there. And if you guys can all turn your cameras on, that'd be fantastic. We want to get a little bit of a feel for where are you at with regard to personal injury? Are you already doing it? Are you looking to get into personal injury? Are you having issues with that? Just so that we are making sure as we go through this webinar that we are properly addressing our audience that we have here. So So go ahead, Saul, Derek, Michael, go ahead and let us know where you're at with that. And you can put it in the chat, or you can just go ahead and unmute yourself there. Michael?
Hey, Michael, how are you doing today? You're muted right now. There you go.
Okay.
Hey, Michael, just are you currently doing personal injury work in your practice?
Yes, I do some, not a whole lot of it.
Okay. And what was if you could fix one thing about personal injury in your practice, what would that be for you?
Get rid of the archaic laws in the state of Illinois.
Right. Don't know if I can help you there, but I understand. Yeah. Every state's a little different, obviously, but what I'll do is give some basic information, kind of a little bit about my journey and how it, I kind of thought outside the box and, started getting much bigger personal injury checks, which obviously was great for me, but also great for the patient because the patient was getting approved for care that they needed. But I'll hit that in a little bit. Hey, Brian, welcome. So you guys, so basically, if you guys can use the chat box, looks like Saul, we do very little personal injury work, mainly cash. Hey, Brian, how you doing, my friend? Are you doing personal injury, Brian?
We do some, but not enough. So
Okay,
that's
great.
why I saw this. I'm gonna hop on here, and then I'll be at the PI seminar next month as well.
Okay, great. Good. We look forward to seeing you there. Stephen, thanks for turning your camera on. Are you currently doing personal injury in your practice, Stephen?
I am, yes. Out of Media, Pennsylvania, outside of Philadelphia, doctor of physical therapy, large clinic, psychology, physical therapy, hyperbaric oxygen therapy, and a full concussion clinic.
Great. Good. So you've been around the block then on personal injury. So you're just looking to see if we have anything new?
Exactly.
Got it. Well, I'll see if we can deliver for you.
Sounds good. Thanks, Gary.
Thanks.
Let me hang this call
right.
real quick. I'll be right back, okay?
All right. No problem, Stephen. Derek, if you can, actually, Derek, I'll come right back to you. Michael, I see you turned your camera on. Thank you. Boy, I like your background, Michael. Looks very psychedelic. Do you currently do personal injury?
Just a little bit. I'd like to do more of it.
Okay, great. Well, we're going to dive into it. I'll give you the high points of the seminar we're doing in a month and a half. So I'll give you the nuts and bolts, and we'll see if it appetites, what's your appetite here. So we also have Saul. We got your message. We have Gary, Derek, and Dr. Beeson. You guys can use the chat box, but I want to try to answer all your questions. And so what I'd like to know is how much of personal injury are you doing, and what are you looking to get out of this? And I know this is basically information for you, but let me tell you my story, and then Derek, Dr. Beeson, Gary, you can use the chat box to throw in anything that you may have, and I'll leave it open for some question and answer towards the end here. But so I had two physical medicine offices in Denver, Colorado, and I got very frustrated with personal injury. The personal injury laws in 2003 changed significantly. Hold on one second. I had to mute myself so I didn't cough on you guys. Man, I was getting tired of attorneys cutting my check. They were, I'd have a case of 5 or 6,000, and they'd always, offer 2 or 3 or sometimes 0. I was frustrated with it. I mean, the nice thing about it was, I got paid typically, but it was always usually 50% of what my bills were, and it was always a game with the attorney. And so I started investigating it more, and I realized that the more I studied personal injury, the more I realized that attorneys really didn't know this game. It was really actually entertaining to me, and in essence, I started studying Shaw's work. If you guys who are in personal injury, if you've ever studied his work, he gets into the AMA guidelines, the 5th and 6th edition, and but for I would definitely highly recommend that you guys look at the 5th and 6th edition of the AMA guidelines. It really opens the door for you guys to have a lot of success in personal injury, and really what I learned was telling a story. It was learning how to tell a story and how to write a good report. And nowadays with AI, your reports can be written so much faster than what they used to be written. But long story short, and then I'll fill in the gaps. So when I learned how to play this game and how to tell the story, and I learned like what the 5 value drivers are in a case. So and I'll cover this again. The main value drivers in the case, guys, number 1 is your diagnosis. And so what I realized that when I wasn't playing this game very well, when I was taught coming out of school that you diagnose sprains and strains. Did anyone else like that? You diagnose sprains and strains? Okay, number 1, that you're heading to a low ball offer right there. Just because a sprain and strain does not carry an impairment rating. Okay. Now, when you look at the studies, according to the Insurance Institute, 87% of people who are involved in a car accident have a soft tissue damage. 34% of them have a permanent injury. But rarely, if you don't have the right tools in your practice, are we diagnosing using the right diagnosis. So number 1, if you do not use the right diagnosis in these cases, if someone has these permanencies, you're going to cut your award right away, and the patient's award. And by the way, one of the reasons why I jumped into this too, guys, was I felt like I had a fiduciary responsibility, not only to treat my patient really, really well, but to document the case properly so that the patient got what they got what they should get. I mean, I looked at like some of our patients have policies for 30, 40 years, and they'd be in a car accident and they'd get peanuts when they had more permanent type like injuries. So really what really was the aha moment for me, I created a report. And on this report, I told a story. There's 10 major points to put into your report. And I sent it off to the attorney. And this is the first time this ever happened to me. The first time I was shocked, but the adjuster read my report, and then he contacted the attorney, and it went from a $5,000 offer to a policy limit award of $150,000 with just my report. That's when it was like, whoa, this is a game changer. And it was because of how things were laid out. And I'm gonna break this down. And I'm hoping that this comes up okay. I'm gonna share my screen here with you guys, and I'm hoping that you guys can see this okay. All right. And I'm going to do this. Perfect. All right. Can you guys see my screen? Give me a thumbs up, Brian, if you can see my screen. Thank you. So now before I get into the report, can you see it says the top 7 reasons chiropractic personal injury is a fantastic market? So and I don't care where you're at. So number 1 is you get paid 100% for your services, typically, unless you're getting low ball offers and you're getting 50 cents on the dollar. But if you document properly, you'll get 100% of what you bill. It's a large market in the fact that there's 87% of injuries are soft tissue related. 3, there's no medical competition for soft tissue documentation. There's no competition out there. Four, there's no chiropractic competition. 97% chiropractors are not trained in this. Just to the point, there's only one person who was on here, I believe Stephen, who has, a lot of experience with personal injury. Five, it's a repeat business. Once the personal injury attorney that you're working with is sold in what you do, they'll continually refer to you. And it's called educational sales. Like what I created was actually a continuing education. How I started marketing this and getting more into personal injury was I created a continuing education seminar for attorneys, and I taught them this method. And once the light bulb went off, and they started seeing much higher awards for their clients, which means guess what? The patient gets paid more. The patient gets taken care of better. And the attorney gets paid and you get paid. It's a win-win-win. It was that was the aha moment for me of the continuing education seminars. And so what we have going on in September is we are doing a 2-day course on personal injury, and we're going to be going over the tools to use to get the proper diagnosis. We're going to be going over how to document the case, and we're going to be going over how to market it. And on top of that, we're going to have a little bonus session on diagnosing concussions and treating concussions, which is another form of an impairment that you can add to your to the case. It's not likely to change, right? Trial Lawyer Association is a strong lobbyist group, so it might change a little bit, but it's going to still be around. And it's a forced market, right? Personal injury attorneys need medical documentation. The case doesn't mean anything. You guys got to realize that as a provider, you have strong footing on this because the attorney needs good documentation. Okay. Now, let me scroll down here. Let's see, 2728. So here's a few items that we actually train an attorney on and educate them on. It's objective measurements. So we have to have objective measurements that we're doing on a patient, which it's very easy, and it's actually something you can add to your practice where you'll actually get paid for that testing. And there's no onboarding fees. That's the great thing about it. It's a simple plug and play software that you put into your office. You can give second opinions for attorneys, and you can get paid for second opinions once you learn this information. How to determine value of a case. We use Aaron Deshaw's work. And then basically the title of your talk is the documentation necessary to stop lowball offers and win policy limit awards for soft tissue injuries. Now, there are basically 10 points of documentation needed to make a case rock solid. And I want to just review some of this stuff here. So what we cover and what you learn about is the 5 pillars of documentation necessary to stop lowball offers. Now, as I'm going through this, guys, this is how you're going to create your documentation, and I'll be training you guys on this, but also this is what you educate an attorney on at a dinner talk or a lunch and learn with attorneys. Now, there's 3 types of attorneys that I talk about, and I'll call them A, B, and C. An A type of attorney is someone who I typically don't work with. These are the people who advertise on your billboards. These are the people in town that have a bulk of the attorney work, but they're mills, right? And so I don't necessarily like to work with them. You can if you want. Like I have a good friend in San Diego. He gets 75 attorney referrals a month. One of the things I see, and I just had a conversation with him about this past weekend. I was in San Diego for a conference, and he, he'll get 75 new patients in, but what happens is he does around a 6 to 7. He'll bill out 6,000 to 7,000 on the case, and 100% of the time, his attorneys ask for a 50% reduction. So he's treating these patients for $3,000 to $4,000, and which is fine. The biggest thing for me that was a bit of a problem is it just doesn't line up with how I want to take care of a patient. There's 3 phases to healing. So even if you look at it if you guys remember Guyton's Physiology back in the day, did anyone else use Guyton's Physiology books when they went to school? Brian, you did? Yeah. There's 3 phases of healing, right? The first phase of healing is the inflammatory phase, which takes 72 hours, up to 72 hours. Your repair phase takes 6 to 12 weeks. And then your remodel phase takes anywhere from 12 weeks to 18 months. And so when you look at that, if you have a patient, which would be like 34% walking into your office, if they have a permanent injury, is $5,000, is $3,000 or $4,000 of care going to suffice for them? It's not, especially if you can document from the first visit that they have permanency, which is what you're going to learn. So when you're educating a patient or an attorney, you're going over the top 5 financial driver pillars to support a soft tissue spinal injury claim. The second thing I go over with an attorney is the 4 major pillars to defend the injury claim. I go over the 12 steps to tell a story and build the case. I go over the 4 types of injury award offers, and I go over the financial claims worksheet that converts documentation to 4 distinct injury awards for a policy limit. This way, an attorney can look at this worksheet and determine what kind of case they have. Are they willing to go to court on this case based on your documentation? Or are they going to settle? You become an advocate. And in essence, once you educate the attorney and and you start getting higher awards, you become their go-to for referrals. You get 10 attorneys referring to 2 or 3 cases a month. I mean, do you need more than 30 or 40 PI patients, especially if you're doing, you're doing good documentation? It's just my 2 cents. But I was telling you about the different types of attorneys. So type A is the billboard guy who does or gal who does a ton of volume. They typically don't want, they don't really want to go down this path for whatever reason. Type B knows personal injury really well. And you get a couple type Bs in your corner, they'll refer a lot to you. And type C is the attorney that you look in your neighborhood that does divorce, bankruptcy, and personal injury. They're the jack of all trades attorney. These are the best attorneys to work with because they don't know what they don't know, and you can educate them. And once they hit a home run with you, you will be their go-to for every personal injury case they get. And this is where you start to build a following. Okay. So now when I look at these major pillars, pillar number 1 is the 5 financial drivers and the medical documentation that determines the 4 types of injury claim offers. Number 1 is your injury diagnosis. So how you come up with an injury diagnosis is you do you use a software. I recommend DXD. And Dr. Todd Cielo will be he's the developer of this, and it has actually gone to the Supreme Court in Florida and won. So you have really good software program where you do stress views. You do neutral, you do flexion, you do extension, and you plot some points, and it spits out a report. If you have in your cervical spine, if you have 3 millimeters of translation or 11-degree angulation, it's a 25% impairment. Okay. So when you get that diagnosis of alteration of motion segment integrity, it's a 25% impairment. So first off, you can check the box on the injury diagnosis with this software. You immediately get an impairment rating, which so just to kind of give you an idea, guys, 25% impairment. Do you know what else is a 25% impairment? If you lose a limb, like if you lost an arm or a leg, guess what? You'd have a 25% impairment. That's how the AMA guidelines looks at this alteration of motion segment integrity diagnosis. They give it a 25% impairment. Now, in settlement terms, you usually get around $1,000 per impairment point. So you're adding $25,000 to the case just with that diagnosis. We're not even talking about concussions or herniated discs or anything like that. We're talking soft tissue right now. And then in your documentation, you're looking at number 3 and 4. You want to document a patient's loss of enjoyment in lifetime, which are just forms. You're having the patient fill out forms at every 6 to 12 visits. Duties under duress every 6 to 12 visits. You're documenting that you get settlement, more settlement money for those things. And then obviously, if you have an impairment, that means the patient needs lifetime care. So the number 1 value driver outside of your diagnosis is the prognosis and the need for future care. And so I go over a formula of how you can determine what the lifetime value, like what the lifetime care needed for a patient that adds to that's what escalates the settlement offer significantly. Does that make sense, guys? So that's number 1. That's the first pillar. What we do at the seminars, we also go over pillar number 2, which is the documentation necessary to defend against the 4 most common defense strategies to minimize their financial responsibility, which number 1 is how do you defend the low impact injury? I review that. Number 2, I go over how do you defend the pre-existing injury? 3, we look at the combination of evidence, subjective, hybrid, subjective, and totally objective measurements. And then we discuss having a medical team. And we want only science-based diagnostics and therapeutics. The there's certain items that chiropractors do at times that really don't hold up great in court. For instance, like as much as I like gosh, what's that program? It's like a MyoVision, like a Surface EMG. MyoVision is actually pretty good, but there's older models, subluxation stations, where they do the Surface EMGs. It doesn't hold up. A thermogram doesn't hold up because you can do 2 scans back to back and you don't get the same findings, right? So we want completely, totally objective measurements, in our documentation. Pillar number 3 is, as I go over, like, how do you tell this personal injury story in your narrative report? And then we prepare for deposition, we prepare for trial testimony. Now, what you're going to find is that when you write a good report, 99% of your cases will not go to trial. Very few ever do. But you're prepared. Now, here is pillar number 4 that I go over with you guys. I go over the financial driver documentation that will determine one of the 4 types of injury claims, right? So an attorney is either going to give you like no offer, right? Or an insurance company will go no offer, a low ball offer, a high ball offer, or a policy limit award. And what I do is I review a financial claim worksheet, how to use the medical legal formulas to convert the documentation into these awards. So you can communicate with an attorney from day one. Hey, what kind of case are you looking at? Like if the patient has a diagnosis of ligament laxity or alteration of motion segment integrity, you can check that box. If they have, which also checks the box of an impairment rating, all that stuff increases the value of a case. And the patient's going to need the care, right? So when we look at these different types of awards, like no offer, if an insurance company is giving you no offer, typically it's little to none of the 5 top financial drivers are documented, does not have the 4 pillars documented to defend the claim, and you probably haven't given them a 12-step formula to tell the story and build the case, right? Now, if you're getting a lowball offer, it's probably because only 1 or 2 of the top 5 financial drivers are documented. So it's all in your documentation, guys. So if you're consistently getting lowball offers, the first thing I'll tell you to do is go to your documentation. Are you checking the boxes on the right documentation to have in your report? Little to no documentation of the 4 pillars to defend the claim, and only a few of the 12 steps used to tell the story and build the case. Now, when you're getting a high ball offer, you typically will have all 5 financial driver categories documented. Now, some of you who raised your hand that said you do you diagnose a lot of sprain strain, right? And if you've never heard of alteration of motion segment integrity, rarely are you ever getting a high ball offer from the beginning. Usually you're getting no offer or a low ball offer. The funny thing is, I remember having a conversation with an insurance adjuster years ago. And I remember them telling me, like, they're like, Gary, I want to pay out on claims. But with what I'm getting, because you got to realize they're taking your documentation, they're putting up against what are they looking at? They're looking at the AMA guidelines. Does it match up with what the AMA guidelines says regarding injuries? Now, if our documentation is really lackluster, we're not going to get a lot of great offers, right? And then when you look at the policy limit award, this is where you have all the pillars documented. Top 5 financial drivers of the injury software, such as Colossus, checks the box, and you got the 4 steps to defend the claim, and then you got the 12-step formula of telling the story. Everything's built out, and so that's when you start getting policy limit awards, and you have an attorney who's willing to fight for the patient. This is the reason why I like C-type attorneys, guys, is because they're willing to fight for the patient. They're willing to stretch things out. Where a lot of your PI mills, they just want to get through people. Before I go any further, I'm just going to look at this. It says here, Derek, I don't have a microphone camera on the computer. I've practiced for 34 years. I'm a Sacramento, focused on PI during the 2008 financial crisis. Continuing to build focus on one-on-one relationships with attorneys. Great. This seminar that I'm teaching, Derek, will actually help you build your attorney relationships even more, because you're going to educate them on, on personal injury, which you'd be amazed at how much they don't know. And then Steven, concussion diagnostics is a home run for all plaintiff. You bet ya. We do have a concussion segment in the seminar that goes over how to diagnose the concussion, but also how to treat, which may line up with what you're doing, Steven. Michael, what is your average case reimbursement when adding these pillars? I sold my practices 1.5 years, 2 years ago. Before I sold, I was getting anywhere from $12,000 to $15,000 a case. But I was getting the awards I was getting, on the cases where I documented this stuff. We were hitting policy limits very easy. If someone didn't have a good insurance policy, geez, this is another thing. You become an advocate for the attorney. If someone has a $25,000 max policy, it's good to let the attorney know what you're looking at and what you're dealing with. Like, listen, this person has a permanent injury, but 25,000 doesn't go very far, right? I mean, so you can really work with the attorney and work with the patient, so that's a win-win for everybody, because you want to educate them on it. The other thing is, if let's say you had a commercial truck hit a car, I mean, you might have $1 million policy sitting there. You want to cross your T's and dot your I's, and you're going to get a much higher settlement, right? Derek, let me see, what was your question here, Derek? You were there. Where did you go? Oh, no. Oh, yeah. We always take flexion extension films, always use disc DX, ligament laxation with it. Yeah, perfect. Yeah. So, Derek, you're already all over this. Derek, are you using alteration of motion segment integrity diagnosis? When you're seeing that, yeah. So you're already over this, yeah. Now it just comes down to put it into a good report, right? I figured that you were all over this when you told me your background. So that's great. So that's kind of some of the stuff that we get into. So there's only 4 differences between a highball offer and a policy limit award, and they're this: you must take the injury claim out of Colossus. Do you have a doctor who can document and explain the 3 pillars to the injury? And will the patient be able to present themselves to a jury? The biggest factor is the attorney willing to reject anything less than a policy limit award and present all 3 pillars to a jury. Now, what I found when I was doing this is that if you do a few depots, great, but you go to trial if you win, I want you guys to realize that when an insurance company pulls you up in their system, that let's say you're a provider working on a case, they're going to get a little symbol next to your name, like you're either a pushover and you take 50% offers, or if you've gone to trial and won, guess what? You got a little bulldog right there, and they're going to want to. They'll offer, your settlements will automatically go up, because they're going to know that, hey, this person has gone to trial before and won. Like, we don't want to go there again with this guy. Does that make sense? So once you actually establish yourself a couple times, rarely are you ever called. Rarely does the case go to trial once you've gone once or twice, because they see that you're willing to go, and if they see that you've won, they know that you know the game. Okay. So I want to kind of go over this a little bit. So, by the way, this is just like a worksheet that we go over, the potential injury award review sheet. So, we just check the boxes, when we look at cases. So, by the way, you can use this worksheet to be a second opinion for an attorney. You can look at their records, and you can right away tell them, hey, this is why you're getting a lowball offer. And see, when you start doing second opinions, which you charge for, by the way, once the attorney sees that you've vetted some of their cases and you write this up, they're going to start referring to you. It's a secondary business that you can do. But like, let's say you're looking at records. Does the person have an injury diagnosis? What's the diagnosis? Does it carry an impairment? Is there a loss of enjoyment of life documented? Is duties under duress documented? Is there a prognosis need for future care? Is it documented? Is there documentation that defends the case from pre-existing injuries, low property damage, subjective arguments. You know, is a good format to your report? You know, this is where if you're checking all the boxes on this, you have a solid case. You know, and the patient should have a higher award than a low ball settlement or no offer. So that's the gist of what we go over. So what it is, it's if in the chat box, Cindy, if you can put the dates, and I'll answer questions here. But if you can put the dates of this seminar in, I'll answer questions right now regarding this information, and then also September 18th, 19th. Thanks, Quentin. So that's when we're having this conference. It's going to be in Largo, Florida. You fly into Tampa. It's a quick, easy commute. But what we're going to be going over is basically Dr. Cielo, who invented the DXD program, is going to be presenting, where you're going to be able to check out his software. And he's going to be going over his documentation process and how he diagnoses these types of injuries. And then I'll be presenting on the documentation and marketing side of things. And then we have another doctor that will be presenting on concussion. On the second day, half day, we'll be presenting on concussion, diagnosing and treating. So in any case, any questions on any of this information or what you're currently running into right now, I'll open it up for you guys. Michael, do you have any questions, sir? We got Michael Dorn. We got Michael. Is it some Sarmac? Is that how, am I saying that right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you have any questions?
No.
No. Okay, great. Michael Dorn. Yeah, it's been a long time, man.
Yes, it has. How are you?
I'm doing good.
No, I had the same frustrations as you, honestly. You know, you get through a case, and then, you know, whatever, your bill's $5,000 and they want to pay you, you know, $1,800, $2,000. And you're afraid to stick to your guns, because then you're like, well, they'll never send anybody to me again, or something like that, you know, is my always thought. I don't
Exactly.
give a little bit. But no, this is all very interesting. Do you know what the fees are? I don't know, Quentin, if you know the fees are for the software use, and then what the fee is for the training.
Yeah, so I can answer on the software. The software, it's to implement it, I believe it's $0 unless Dr. Cielo has changed the fee structure. But it's $125 every time you. Number one, you can scan the X-rays. It's $0 to scan. So, like, for instance, if someone didn't have an impairment, why print it out? Immediately from when you print out the report is when you'd get billed. But now you can bill that to the insurance company. You can get about $500 to $600 per report, and so it's a income generator for you, as well as giving you the documentation that is needed for your case.
Okay. Can you talk a little bit more about also that second opinion type thing? Like, you would just market to an attorney that you're now a specialist and you can help them get higher.
Sure. Like, what I used to do is I would number one, I'd educate them. So what I did was I created it's very easy to go to your state bar association and to tell them that you're an expert in something, and create one like a 2-hour continuing education. They're very easy on giving out continuing education to doctors. And then you can market it to the bar. You can market it to the local attorneys and say that, hey, you're doing a dinner talk. Invite them, and then you do this presentation. I'll show you how to do it at this conference that we're doing, this seminar. And basically, you're educating them on all this stuff. And what happens is it opens their eyes up to all the things that they don't know, right? And then from there, one of two things happens. You have people who, you have tire kickers, people who just want to, like, let's see what they has, and they're not sold yet. Well, then I say, well, hey, let's take this worksheet. Give me 2 or 3 cases, and let's review those 2 or 3 cases. You can look at it doesn't take long. You can look at the documentation, and you can check to see, like, what's been documented. And what you're in essence doing is you're showing the attorney how lackluster the documentation is. And I can guarantee you 95% of the documentation that chiropractors are turning into these attorneys is really poor. And so when you show that, and then what you do is after you've done that, then you say, hey, send me 2 or 3 cases, and let's see, let me show you what we can do, you know, and then take it from there. And then from there on out, if they want you to, like how I've made it a little mini business was, if they wanted a second opinion, they'd pay me like $500 to look at the file. I'd quickly look at it, but then I'd say, hey, listen, do you need a second opinion? Yeah, I need a second opinion. Great. Then I would actually run the DXD program, you know, see, do they have the diagnosis? You know, like, and I would fill in the gaps for them. I wouldn't take the patient away from where they were going. I would just, you know, add my expertise to it, run the scans. If they have the diagnosis and the impairment, right now I can be called as an expert witness for them. I can get paid for my time from that perspective as well. And, yeah, so I mean that's one way that you can really start generating faith and confidence from the attorney to where they start using you. What happens with that is they start using you, but what they'll do, what they'll do is a lot of these attorneys are only getting referrals from other doctors, and so they don't have anything to give you. But what this does is it opens the door for you to you come in as an expert and run a few tests and do a second opinion. But then when they do get an unattached case where they need to refer out, you know, they'll want to refer to you. Does that make sense, Dr. Dorn?
Yeah. Thank you.
Did that answer your question?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay, good. All right, good. Let's see who else we got. We got Gary, but I don't see Gary's. I see a computer, but I don't know if you're there, Gary. We have an office manager on the line now. Not sure who you are, but if you have any questions, go ahead.
Gary, you got a question there from Saul.
Oh yeah.
Let me just answer the question with regard to the training. So the training that we're doing, we'll be doing this full training down here in Florida, the 18th and 19th of September. The price for that training is $5,000 for 2 people to come to it. Today we're running, sorry for the balloons. Today we're running a special on that. So if you go ahead and get it right now on this seminar or today, we'll take $1,000 off of that, and that'll bring it to $4,000, and you can bring yourself and one other person from your office to that complete training that we'll be doing September 18th and 19th. Dr. Rademacher, Dr. Cielo, Dr. Tim Steflik, and Dr. Brian Dahmer also all doing training on that, which will really help you to increase those cases there.
Yeah. So when you look at this, guys, I can guarantee you. Okay, so for instance, I remember I've taught this a few years ago, and we had a lot of people attend it, and it was a huge success. And the reason why I taught it was I started getting checks of $30,000 and $40,000. Like one of the cases that I first settled when I first learned how to do this, you know, the patient had major injury, and but I documented it properly, and I ended up getting like a $38,000 check from the insurance company, and it was or from the attorney, I should say, because I got policy limits without going. I didn't even do a deposition. That was just off my report, and that's when I realized that, man, this report's really good. And so once you learn how to document like this, like I said, especially with, you know, how you can build out, you know, AI now, you don't have, you know, you just input the specifics on the patient and you can spit out a report pretty fast. When I first started doing this, that didn't exist, and it would take me some time to actually do a report, but this is an easy thing to add on. And what I love about it is for me, I became a very good fiduciary for my patients, you know, because I knew, how many times have you guys had a patient who just doesn't get better? Like they plateau, but they still have problems. And then you're being asked to, you know, stop treating the patient, and, you know, they may have further injuries, but yet you know, you're getting the plug pulled on your treatment. And, you know, once I really understood this information, I was able to educate my patients better. Like I would tell my patients on a report of findings, listen, I'm sorry, Mrs. Jones, but, you know, you have a permanent injury, and here's why. So not only we're going to be treating you for a while, we got to get you as best we possibly can. However, because you have some permanency here, your condition is going to worsen as time goes on. And so we're going to have to keep up on you. So even after your case closes, you're going to have to stay under care to some degree. I told them that on day 2. and it makes a difference. It's again, it's educating your patients on what's going on. I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but that's the truth. When someone has alteration of motion segment integrity, your disc is going to desiccate. You're going to develop bone spurs in that region within 6 to 9 months. You know, it's Wolff's law and the piezoelectric effect, guys. Going back to our Guyton's physiology texts. Okay, these are all things that we go over though, and I'm hoping you guys can make it. But any other questions? Got Saul. I know Saul, you're you don't have a microphone if I remember correctly, but you can text. I'm sorry, text. You can chat questions, or you can unmute yourself just freely. Hey, Derek, does this line up? Does this line up with stuff that you already know? Sounds like you're all over this, and you're probably one of the only ones in your area doing it like this too. I'd be willing to guess. By the way, there's not a lot of people doing this. This is where also you can establish yourself in your area for being the best pretty easily. Andre, we got iPhone. Brian, you're already coming. That's going to be fun. We're going to have a good time.
Yeah, I'm
Any
looking
other
forward
questions?
to it. That's why I'm sure I've got a lot of questions, but looks like they'll all get answered at the seminar.
Oh yeah, you'll be full. You'll be full. But you know, it's like anything else, guys. When you add something new, it's like you got to study it a little bit, then it becomes second nature. Like I haven't I'm more in the training space now, and I've got like 8 different companies that I'm with, and I haven't spent as much time on. I know this stuff very well, but I haven't worked on a patient for several years now on this data. The data hasn't changed. The data is the data, but it took me, I studied for a little bit, make sure that I had, to cross my T's and dot my I's. But once you have it, you have it, and you can communicate with an attorney, real effectively, because that's the key, is communicating with an attorney, and showing them what you can do. And once you've done that, it's game over, especially if you're talking to C-type attorneys. And there's many of those around you. Just look, all you got to do is go into LinkedIn, look at someone, what kind of law do they practice? If they're practicing bankruptcy, divorce, and personal injury, jack of all trades, that's who you want to go after. Okay. Any other questions? Quentin?
Yeah. So I just wanted to say, Teresa went to put my calendar link up there. If you're interested in getting some more training and some of the different things that we will do with this, go ahead and set up a time. We can set up a half-hour call and we can kind of go over that and see if this this training, this seminar would be worthwhile for you to do. Like I mentioned, if you want to take advantage of that special, we are running that special today. And if you have any questions on that, or if there's anything else that you kind of wanted to go through with that, then we can always go through that, or I can also put you in touch with Gary there.
Yeah, I'll talk to anyone one-on-one on this. It's that important to me because I think that patients are getting taken advantage of, guys. I mean, just imagine if you're in a car accident and you go through the run of the mill, which is 95% of the offices out there, you're not going to get what you should have coming, especially when you've been paying $200 to $300 a month for however long you've been driving, right? I love it. Thank you so much for the acknowledgement, Derek. He says, everything you've said is awesome, and so happy someone is teaching it to the profession. I try and tell my colleagues, and they just look at me like I'm speaking Greek. I've had the same thing. That good friend in California I was speaking to, I'm like, what about the patient? And I know this, it's in the Insurance Institute statistics. 34% of your patients involved in a car accident have a permanent injury. I said, does that matter to you? He's like, not really. I just want, the attorneys are sending them to me. They want me to make sure that I have my fees at a certain amount and I don't go over a certain amount, and they're going to cut my fee by half. And he's just playing the game. But 34, and that might work for 60% of the patients, but 34, 40% are like, they got a permanent injury and they need a lot more care. They need lifetime care, And so to me, I sleep good at night knowing that, guy. I sleep really good at night knowing that I did the best I could for my patient. And that to me, that's what it's about. Taking care of patients really, really well and educating them properly so that, again, I sleep good at night. I'm not going to have an attorney or an adjuster dictate how I'm going to take care of a patient. I'm going to be a good fiduciary for them. That's how I looked at it. And that's the reason why I dove into personal injury. And you guys wouldn't be here if you didn't want your personal injury practice to be better, right? I even love the fact that I think Derek, you fell off, but Derek is a pro at this. I can tell he knew what he was talking about right when I first talked to him. But he is still on here trying to learn more, right? He's still trying to see, is there something he doesn't know? Which I love, about him. So any questions? So I'm more than willing to answer more questions right now. Or if you want a one-on-one, you can get with Quentin, and Quentin, you can let me know, and Quentin will set that up and we'll talk.
Absolutely.
But it's about 5 weeks out. So it's the perfect time, for flights. It's the perfect time to book it. And you're getting, it's $4,000, you're saving $1,000. Any other questions right now?
I have a question.
Yes.
Okay, I am seeing PI patients. The problem I have is it takes more than 2 years for the attorneys to settle the cases. And then here I treated patients and I have to wait for them more than 2 years to get paid. So any solution for that?
Not really. That's just our judiciary system and the way the game is played. Some states are better than others. My best recommendation for you is that you always have 8 to 10 different ways that you bring patients in. I wouldn't put all of my eggs in one basket. Like, I wouldn't treat all personal injury. And the reason being is, like, for instance, in Colorado back in 2003, the insurance laws changed, and people who were doing strictly personal injury, guess what happened to those offices? They closed their doors. They either closed their doors. Some of them moved out of state to keep practicing personal injuries, and other people, stopped doing personal injury, or they had to change what they were doing. And so that's just part of the game. I don't know if I'm pronouncing your name right. Sharin? Is it
Yeah.
Sharin?
That's
Right.
yeah.
Okay, great.
I see more variety of patients. So
Good.
personal injury is not my only sort of income, but
Yeah.
it happens that in my building, that I have my office, we have so many PI attorneys, and they keep sending patients to me. So
Yeah. I tell you what, I don't know if you heard the beginning. If we have a recording of this, that might be well worth sending it to you so you can hear the beginning of it. Or if you want to get more educated on this, do better. But you can educate your attorneys in your building, Sharon, and they will send you cases. But instead of settling 2 years later for lowball offers, you'll be settling cases for higher limits where you'll make more money, the patient will get more care, and the attorney gets paid more money. And guess what the most important thing to an attorney is?
yes, thank you for answering my question, and I would greatly appreciate it if you sent the recorded meeting seminar to me. You have my address. I can
Yeah, if you
we can definitely
email
get that.
address. All right, very good. Thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah. Any other questions? Andre, Saul, iPhone, Well N, nada. All right, guys. So you know what to do. You can reach out to Quentin. His link is up there. You can schedule time with him or myself to answer more specific questions. If you already know you want to do this, I think there's a link in the chat box where to schedule, and also you can hit that link, I think, just to actually purchase the course as well.
Yep.
And you'll make your money back within 1 or 2 cases. You'll make your money back, and it'll be positive. So I always look at when I make a financial decision, I look at it from the standpoint: am I going to make? Who's going to pay for this? Like, who's going to pay for this? It's not going to be me, right? Like, you might pay for it initially, but you know what's going to happen is the adjusters and the insurance companies are going to pay for this course for you, because they're going to end up paying more money to you. You will get higher settlements. You will be able to treat the patient more. You will get paid more. And that's a guarantee. I guarantee it. If you actually put this into play, it never has not worked when I've taught people how to do this. They make more money, and they help the patients more. And so I look at it as this is not even it's an investment. It's your investment price is $4,000, because you'll make more. 100% will make more. So, all right. If there's no other questions, I'm going to sign off. Quentin, is there anything else you'd like to hit right now? Oh, you're muted, Quentin.
Yep. No, I don't have anything else to add to that. Would definitely love to answer any individual questions and kind of go through that with you. Teresa will go ahead and reach out to see who's interested in going and getting on that seminar that we're doing next month. That's the 18th and 19th of September down in Tampa Bay, Florida. And so let us know. We're gonna have a great time. All
Thanks
right.
for joining,
Thank you all.
guys. Have a great rest of your day.